Okay, so this is the second situation with magma plumes. So again, it's magma plumes and their relationship to plate movement. But the difference here is the magma plume is underneath continental crust. And this is the North American plate. So where are we? We are in America. We're actually in Yellowstone National Park. Now, if you know anything about Yellowstone National Park, you will know that there are lots of springs, hot springs, and big hot water fountains called geysers. So that's actually here. We'll get to that in a minute. So let's just do a bit of a recap. Overactive radioactive decay in the inner core produces a huge amount of heat, which produces a convection current, but not just any old convection current, a strong one. Now, because it's so strong, it's called something different. It's called a magma plume. Now, this is not a pluton. So when we've done the plutons before, this is something different. So that's why it's important that you use the term magma plume. Now, this is completely stationary. It hits everything above it, so through to the outer core, the mantle. Now, the continental crust, it just reacts slightly differently here. This is a thick bit of crust, remember, it's thicker than the oceanic crust. So what happens is that magma rises and basically forms a massive magma chamber within the continental crust and kind of sits there, really. Now, in the past, in the area of Yellowstone National Park, this magma chamber has grown. Now, when I say grown, it would have grown, if you can see that dotted line above, the magma chamber would have grown into this area just here. As it grew, it would have pushed this crust to create a massive volcano, a volcano that's known as a supervolcano. Now, to give you some idea of the distance from here to here, if I just check my notes, so dimensions are 51 kilometres this way to this way, and coming out of the whiteboard and going into the whiteboard would be 101 kilometres. So this is a massive volcano. And what happened was, about 540,000 years ago, this magma chamber grew to this size, created a supervolcano, and it exploded. So what you've got left is the remnants of that volcano. So the shape of the land today is this. This isn't just some small area. Remember, I said to you this was 51 kilometres wide, so that's about 35, 40 miles worth. So the distance from Leicester to Nottingham. This is a massive feature. And it's called a caldera or caldera. So what's left is the side here of the old volcano, the side here of the old volcano, and then you've got a massive depression in the middle where the explosion went off. So a flat bottom depression. So basically a caldera looks like that. There's no, obviously none of this old volcano is here. That's all been a big explosion, and the ash would have just been shot for thousands and thousands of miles. So today, caldera, massive magma chamber underneath. So again, look at the size of that. You know, this is 40 miles wide. Today, what this does is it heats up the land above. So you've got small little explosions. You'll have just small little lava flows, nothing very big. That's not a blue tree, that's a geyser. So a geyser is where water in the ground here gets superheated, kind of like a kettle really. And then through a small crack, it explodes and forms a big water fountain. Old Faithful is a famous one in Yellowstone. I think that erupts something like every 35 minutes, something like that. So you've got lots of features on the floor here. AQA don't want you to know about these features. They just want you to know about the magma plume and the relationship to plate movement. So where does the plate movement fit in? This continental crust here, this North American plate, is actually moving southwest. So it's just like the Hawaiian one. So if I just bring this back into play, there is your magma plume underneath the continental crust. The rubber is signifying Yellowstone National Park. And if this is moving southwest, it's actually moving that way actually towards me. But again, the same thing happens. You're getting your supervolcano created there. The plate moves, the magma plume stays still, and then the magma plume creates another supervolcano. Now today, it's obviously underneath Yellowstone National Park, but what you've got in this area here is a string of supervolcanoes all the way across America. I'll draw a map in a second video in a minute and show you that, just like the Hawaiian one. Let me just check my notes just to check that I've told you everything. Yes, I have. The volcano type here, just to finish off, is called a supervolcano. That's a recognised type of volcano, and its explosion would have been cataclysmic. So remember when we did the VEI, the Volcanic Explosivity Index, that would have been the biggest of the biggest, which I think is VEI 8. So recap, magma plume underneath continental crust creates a massive supervolcano. The plate moves along and then creates another massive supervolcano. The supervolcanoes go off and you get left a caldera. So maybe you are thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to happen again? Yes, it could. This is a kind of a disaster waiting to happen because this magma chamber is building all the time. If this went off, we would feel the repercussions of it in Great Britain, basically because of the ash that would have been thrown into the atmosphere. Anyway, don't need any more doom and gloom at the moment. So yeah, that's it then. So magma plume underneath continental crust.